so excited to invite up to the stage our host, our session leader for today, David Delgado, who will be leading us in AI in education. And just a little bit information about David. David is a seasoned professional in the field of information technology. He currently serves as UW-Milwaukee's Learning Management System Administrator and Digital Learning Environment Coordinator. David champions the thoughtful use of technology to enhance teaching and learning initiatives. He administers the university's Canvas learning management system and is responsible for coordinating the integration of new tools into the digital learning environment. So basically, all the things that run on campus, all the Canvas, all the technology we use for education, pretty much David has his hands in all of that. He's responsible for keeping the whole thing running pretty much. So we're so excited that he's able to take a break from his busy schedule and join us today to share a little bit about AI in education. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much, Lane. Thank you for having me. For those of you who have attended these sessions before, you have a rough idea of what this will be like. Give me just a moment. I'm going to share my screen. And this time we're doing a screen rather than a presentation because I'm going to be flipping back and forth for all of you. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Move the Zoom panel off the side so you don't get a black box. As Lane introduced me as, my name is David Delgado. I'm Senior Canvas Administrator, Digital Learning Environment Coordinator, so I deal with governance and processes and accessibility and all these other things. And I also happen to be an IT generalist, so one of my outside expertise is generative AI. And what we've been doing is every semester I've been presenting on this. And so Lane said, "Hey, would you like to come back?" And I said, "Yeah, I would absolutely like to come back. Thank you for having me." So that's what I'm here to. I'm here to provide the fall 2025 update to generative AI today. And this is going to be, it's going to be very similar to the things I've covered in the past, but it's going to take a different tact. We're going to talk about this a little bit more as a introduction to the technology itself, because there are invariably people who show up who go, "I just wanted to know how to enter a prompt." And we're really at a different point in the technology today than we have been in the past. And that isn't just a rhetorical statement pointing towards the progression of the technology. This is very much the technology has established itself. It is now a defined thing. In any other aspect of technology, this time is enough to establish a foundation for what to expect. And AI, generative AI, in the consumer space is no different. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what people perceive it as, and we're going to fight back some of those perceptions that people have to really kind of demonstrate what it is so that all of you, by the end of this workshop, can appreciate what's truly possible, not what's fully capable, what's possible as a starting point, because the limit is your imaginations and what you do with it. We're also going to talk about some of the UWM tools that are available, and we're going to look into the the crystal ball to see what is probably down the road in the future. And so far, my estimates have been pretty spot on. So I hope I'm going to keep my record this time. Um, and then we'll close it out and we'll transition to Lane, who has his own information and demonstrations, which puts a bow on the conversation. So let's start with the common misconceptions, because people think about it as an application. If you look online, people refer to it all the time as a kind of a technology bubble. They're like, "Oh, it's going to pop and then it's all going to go away." And just like with other things, such as the calculator and the internet itself, there's a non-trivial population out there who say it's just going to fade. It's a fad. It's going to vanish. They look at it as an application. They see it as an app that you install that does a specific thing, and its scope is very finite. It's like, AI chat app has entered the room. Um, and lots of other people do not understand what the capabilities of the software is. And we'll get into a lot more detail on that. But when people look at it, they look at ChatGPT, or they look at DeepSeek, or they look at Copilot in the personal space. They go, "I talk to it, it talks back. So what can I do with it? I don't see a value in this." And they can't wrap their heads around what they can accomplish with it. The other thing that people notice is that there are these sparkle icons everywhere. And if you've worked with any of these tools, you'll know that a sparkle icon, be it this one that I'm showing, which is a standard emoji, or any variation thereof, is kind of that red, is kind of that stamp of, hey, this is computer generated, this is artificial. And companies have their brands, but that spark is always there in Adobe products, in your Android apps, wherever. The simple truth of the matter is that all of these are basic conceptions. They all sit on this foundation that generative AI is some kind of purely regurgitative machine, that it doesn't come up with unique information. The simple truth of the matter is that the fact that it can reply to us at all with a given context is considered an emergent property. That is to say that after a certain point of throwing so much data at it, it has begun doing things that it was never intended to do, behaviors that we never designed it to do, behaviors it was never intended to do. The fact that it can reply to us at all is this behavior that exceeds the programming that we provided it. We provided math, it turned that into actual response. And everything I'm going to show you here is based off of that principle. First example here, um, we're going to be talking about, for this moment here, text as thought. The idea that as words are coming out of the large language model, out of ChatGPT or Copilot, there's an expression that is happening that demonstrates these emergent techniques. The first thing I have here is an example of improvisation. And the 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 point of all these examples, by the way, is that these do not exist on the internet. You cannot take any of these examples and go out into the internet and find them. And that's because they were created on the spot based off of that emergent ability. In this case, what I asked is for ChatGPT is to create 10 portmanteaus combining Spanish and German words, which describe an emotion which English doesn't express. And I like playing with language this way with ChatGPT. I've done some work around it in research. Um, in this case, what it produced was 10 original words combining Spanish and German and assigning a meaning to them. And we see them. Now, you will have access to this presentation. You will have access to these links. All of these are shareable. In fact, let me throw this into chat just so that you can, if you can, you can see it yourself. You know what? On second thought, I'll have to come back to that because I can't. The interface is difficult to use for me right now. So I'll come back to that, but you will have access to all of these links. And we see all 10 of these. I Googled all 10 of these. None of these exist out there. This is all improvisational based off of the criteria, and this is it spontaneously creating things, new ideas, and associating them with concepts that all make sense. These are all plausible things that are being produced. As an aside, when you share a link like this, anyone who opens it can continue the conversation can continue that conversation, and it remains their conversation. It's not your conversation anymore. They receive effectively a copy of it. So we have this shockingly interesting combination of ideas. We also have the idea that models have the ability to think. They have the ability to rationalize. And some of this happens on the surface through reasoning models. I'll go to this example where I asked it to synthesize how Jimmy Carter would have handled Adolf Hitler's rise up to the point of the invasion of Austria. And I gave it some supplemental instruction, created detailed analysis of the key events of World War II in Europe from 1930 to the first invasion of Austria. For each event, hypothesize how Jimmy Carter would have engaged with world leaders and how he would have participated in international meetings, events, and discussions. If we open up the thought thread here, OpenAI does not show the formal thoughts. They show summaries of the information. But if you download OpenAI's model and install it on one of OpenAI's models and you install it on your computer, it will show you all of the thinking. And if you use a tool like DeepSeek, another thinking model, it will show the exact words that are going through its mind. So, but even as summarization, we can see how it's rationalizing through the steps, the kinds of things that it's trying to process. And it's running through with this emergent ability to respond. And it's going one step further. It is now actively reasoning based off of that. And again, you'll have the opportunity to see this for yourself. It does a fantastic job of going through each individual, big event that led up to World War II and hypothesizing based off of Jimmy Carter's past experiences, based off of what we know Jimmy Carter did do and how his policies did work, how he might have responded to Adolf Hitler. Large language models also analyze. They can look at data and make decisions based off of it. So in this case, what I did was I threw a data file, a delicious data file, the best kind of data, into ChatGPT and asked it to synthesize information from that data. In other words, take the CSV and do the steps necessary to carry out my instructions. And in this case, I asked it to take all the subaccounts in Canvas, which is all of the buckets of courses that we have, and organize them by university. And we see here it thought for a minute and a second. In the process of doing so, it wrote code to actually hammer out what it's doing with the data. And it looked at that data and made basic assumptions based off of it. It continued on, continued writing code, continued getting results, and making decisions based off of that data that was responded. And this is our generative AI, ChatGPT, Anthropic Claude, Google Gemini. This is those tools at their most powerful when you give it the ability to not only reason through dialogue, but to work through tools to make further assumptions that go beyond its own known abilities, its own known limits. We go through a lot of work. It ends up coming up with a table. It just happens that it made some wrong assumptions. But I did tell it to tell me what those assumptions were. And a minute and 55 seconds, it did something that would have taken me about that would have taken me about 30 minutes or so. I tell it that it missed an important detail because I decided to review its work. So I led it in a direction. We see that it continued to think some more. It produced another iteration on that data, told me why it changed it and the assumptions that it made again. Then I directed it to the actual hint, the actual detail that I was hoping it would pick up on its own, that there is a way to discern based off of that data what the descendant of each bucket of classes is. It thanked me and then proceeded to provide a report of accurate numbers. This is correct data. I cross-checked it myself using my own Excel. It got the targets. So it successfully calculated how many sub-accounts everyone has. And we can see that UW has a lot, 469. So uh, so yeah, that's the kind of stuff that it can do. We are so far beyond enter text and get something back. It's not even funny. And we're not even done talking about text. We're talking about voice. So what I did here was I asked ChatGPT to create a report on the Ainu people of Japan and their resurgence, the reawakening of that particular culture and diaspora in Japan and southern Russia, Siberian Russia, their resurgence of their culture and their language and recognition. I took that report, I gave it to Google Gemini, and I asked it to cross-check that because it's a separate set of eyes, right? It's a different AI. It doesn't have the same information that ChatGPT does, and it isn't necessarily going to think about it in the same way. So Google Gemini cross-reviewed the report. The report is available that you can see the output that Gemini made based off of ChatGPT's information. And we converted it. I know we've talked about this before, Notebook LM, but Lane, will they be able to hear sound?
You have to have it selected on your side in Zoom, but they should.
Okay. Okay. Let me reshare. That was a mistake on my part. My apologies. Share sound. Thank you for your patience while I get my stuff together.
No worries, David. Zoom changes all the time, anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are. And I know many of you have heard Notebook LM before, but it's worth actually playing to hear how it took that report and synthesized it into something that was more casual.
Oh, still can't hear it, David.
You can't hear it?
No,
Okay.
it's so if you don't, if you want, we can also, if you can share the link with me, I can also share that with people, and then they can look at it when they have time.
Y- y- since
Or
it'll
we can
be
try it one
after
more
the
time.
fact, since
Yeah.
it'll be after the fact, I'll just share, I mean, I'll be sharing the presentation, so they'll have access to the links.
Okay.
Um, but okay. So a podcast was created, a 15-minute podcast was created using Notebook LM that was built off of the report. I listened to it. It was very casual. It was very comfortable. Notebook LM is famous for this now, especially that one episode where that someone gave it enough information so that it understood what it was and they responded accordingly. It was quite interesting. Um, but there's also this open source tool that you can use. And this one I really do want to make sure you hear if at all possible. So let's see if this works. Zoom, why do you have so many windows? Okay. I shared the link to that in chat, and I'm gonna
Which one
cross
is
my
this?
fingers. This is Romeo and Juliet. This was a open source voice model that took text from the Project Gutenberg Romeo and Juliet. I pasted a passage of Juliet's dialogue into it and generated audio based off of a sample that was provided. And
If it's not, I can try my on my side.
yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. Give
And
me.
this is dramatic enough that people need to hear this.
Right, right. All right. Let's see here. Let me share mine. Start to.
Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hand too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss.
Thank
Were
you.
you able to hear that?
Yes.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is where the free stuff is. You know, did it sound perfect? There was still a little bit of artifacting, just that little bit that you could hear. But it was easily good enough that if you uploaded your own voice to that tool with, 15 seconds of you talking in full expression, it could easily replicate your voice in a way that makes this kind of homogeneous experience for your students. So, and that is what we're capable of today. That is open source. It is free. You don't need to purchase a subscription for 11 Labs. Then we're talking about images. So maybe you like abstract art. I wanted to come up with something that people couldn't necessarily find on the internet to demonstrate that image models have an understanding of object placement, of sizing and such. You can search this in Google Images and you won't find it anywhere. And also you can smile because now you have an image of kittens walking down around an MC Escher painting chasing corn. But again, the point is that this doesn't exist. And this doesn't either. This is a video of George Einstein playing his violin while nuclear bomb plans are being formulated. And the reason why I chose this is because Einstein very famously made comments towards the use of the nuclear bomb towards the Nazi regimes and commented that he didn't want to be, that maybe he would have chosen a different profession if he had known that was the way it was all going to be. But again, we're talking about the synthesis of brand new information here. We don't have a full fidelity color video of Albert Einstein playing a violin, let alone a portion of a nuclear system appearing next to him. It couldn't have done that unless there is a measurable way for it to demonstrate the nature of the universe and the way physics work. So Next slide here. We are in a different place today than we have been. All of this is possible because we're dealing with multiple kinds of generative AI today. We're no longer talking about this is ChatGPT and you can upload a document. Now we're dealing with a completely different paradigm. We're dealing with three different kinds of of generative AI. We're dealing with the dialogue-driven stuff where it's the single shot. I'm a student and I'm looking at this Copilot agent and it has all my syllabus data and I have a simple question. Copilot responds with the answer, the student has their response. Or I'm going to create an image. ChatGPT, create an image for me about this, and then it does it, and you walk away. Or you say, this wasn't quite right, make this change, and it does. This is your iterative process where you control the direction entirely. The next stage on that is reasoning, where you as the person are still in control, but there's a lot more happening behind the scenes because the model is talking to itself to increase its level of ability to walk through the steps on its own, rather than that is its inner monologue, except it's laid out for us to be able to see it. And if you put those together, the ability to reason, and then you add tools to the mix, the ability to program, the ability to reach out to websites, the ability to touch GitHub or manipulate Microsoft Word or change the systems in Windows 11, you get an agent. And we pull away even further from from the centralized nature of your work. You are now prompting it to do something, and then it goes off for what we saw, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, a minute. I've given ChatGPT tasks that it has spent 40 minutes on, going out, conducting research, comparing things. If you ever have genealogy research you need to do, get ChatGPT. It will help you a great deal with that. But the point is that you are now the person who's architecting what has to be done. And this idea that we used to have input and output of a particular type is kind of gone now because systems can access the data that you have. They can connect to OneDrive and use your OneDrive data. They can check your email if you set it up to do so. So that input doesn't have to just be text. It can now be that data. And it can also be your voice or your computer screen. You can load ChatGPT on your phone, share your screen with it, and it can help you through games. So where we are is that generative AI is now your team. It is now this universe where we as the user are not sitting here having a single conversation, getting a single answer back, talking about stuff and getting minor deliverables. Now we are the project managers. We are the people who put the ideas together. We architect and assemble our teams. We test the results. We make sure that the work that is being done is what we want. And if we don't, we push back and get new iterations. All of this is a completely different way we work. And we now have digital teams of people like things, artificial intelligence that can do work on our behalf, and that will only increase. But that changes the way we function. You'll notice that this is a centralized team concept, but there still has to be someone in the middle to cross-check the work. And that is where education is going today. When we talk about all of this, we're now talking about our professions evolving so that they all center around making our people who are not only educated in those professions, but are also team leaders. And there's not team leaders of people, they're team leaders of technology. Shift gears here from that, let that percolate in your head for a moment. Let's talk about the tools at UWM. There's always this question of what tools do we have available? We have Copilot Chat, and the reason why I bring this up is first and foremost, it is FERPA compliant. I'm not going to dance around the bush anymore. It does meet the standard. Microsoft has it. Information security has it. It is FERPA compliant. So if you want to put student data in it, you can. Still consider anonymizing and using best data handling practices. In other words, if you wouldn't give someone raw data, don't give Copilot the same. Don't make an exception for Copilot. If you wouldn't give someone else raw data, don't give Copilot raw data. If you would give someone highly detailed information, do so because, or highly privileged information, do so for a very good reason and understand the limitations. If you're dealing with HIPAA, if you're dealing with, I misspelled solutions. If you're dealing with HIPAA or IRB level stuff, um, contact information security so that they can set you up with other solutions because there are alternatives. You can access it from inside of Edge, your browser. You can access it from inside of Outlook. Click a thread and ask it to summarize, and it will summarize that thread for you. Some of our threads get to 30, 40 messages long. I take advantage of that. It's embedded in Teams. It's embedded in the Microsoft 365 website as long as you log in with your UWM identity. Um, and this is capable of all three of those tiers, where it can go out and do a series of tasks. It can go out and do the deep research. And you can also customize the personality and add memories to it. So if you, just like in ChatGPT, you can ask it to memorize some. Remember, this is a fact that it has to keep in mind, and it will do so. Um, and interestingly, ChatGPT has GPT-5, the latest and greatest, right? There's a toggle for that in Microsoft 365 now. You go in the corner, you click it. Now you're dealing with the latest and greatest technology itself. The single biggest complaint people have is it's flaky. Well, there are personality tweaks that you can make to it, and I will share with Lane the personality tweaks that I use on my Copilot account to make it feel a bit more less like talking to a filing cabinet. I'll just say. We also have access to Adobe Firefly, which is part of our Creative Cloud licenses for faculty and staff. Students can use Express, by the way. If you go to adobe.com/product/firefly, you can go in and create images or videos or have a video translated or make a first-person avatar of yourself and have it speak on your behalf, to believe it or not. And if you happen to have Adobe Express loaded up in your website or installed on your computer, there are even more capabilities. Then it can use artificial intelligence to make layouts and caption videos, using knockouts like what we see in YouTube Shorts and TikTok videos. So the capabilities are absolutely there. And then we have pockets of generative AI that we can take advantage of that continues to bubble up. Like, for example, we have the ability to summarize discussions in Canvas. And when you're using the formal Adobe Acrobat product, there is now an AI bar where you can ask questions about the PDF and it can sort through stuff for you while you're in the application. And then, of course, here we are in Zoom. So we have our summarization companion. Windows 11 has the ability to create images and generate text. WordPad or Notepad has Copilot text generation of all things. You can do that now. And then browsers have the ability to perform quality assurance, or Q&A rather, question and answer sessions based on web page content. Copilot will summarize a page and can track whatever page you're on and answer whatever questions you have because it can see, not just see the content of the page, it can physically see the page now. And Google Chrome is the same way. You can turn on Homework Helper and ask and have it discuss questions with you. I know Lane is going to show that. We go down the road 6 months. What are we going to have? Reasoning ability, the ability to go through and dissect complex problems, doubles in length and duration every 7 months. Every 7 months, the amount of time it can spend on thinking doubles. Right now, we're up to an hour. So that means that in the next 3 to 4 months, we'll be up to 2 hours and then 4 hours, and if the trend continues. And the knowledge and ability of those models doubles every 10 months. And about 6 months ago, we hit that latest um, um, trajectory change where now we've saturated all the models that cover everything that that the typical person can do, and even some of the more advanced people can do. We're now up to models that can conceivably reach PhD levels given enough compute and time. And that's doubling every 10 months. We're going to see user interface design changes, and we're already seeing that in Microsoft 365 Copilot, where the chat box is the initial interface, and that's only going to continue. Our computer desktops are going to go that way. Instead of a search box, it's going to be an AI box when you hit the magic key combination on your Mac. Your phones are going to respond more accurately to voice. And the way you're going to get stuff done is through conversation, dialogue, showing, and engaging rather than by typing. And then what we'll see is that Canvas will continue to pick up new tools as time goes on. So I've covered a lot and I'm a little over time as per usual. So I want to end this with some insights. Don't think about it as text in and out anymore. Experiment with it. Use the tools to the most of your ability so that you can understand how the breadth of abilities fits into your curriculum, into your course, into the programs that you're leading. Acknowledge that the job market is reshaping in real time. Um, and it's reshaping because everyone, not just us, but the management and companies and the owners and government organizations and everyone is trying to feel out how exactly all of these new capabilities truly fit inside their organization. And that brings a closing question for me to all of you. And that is, how do you use generative AI as a team member, not only for yourself, but for your students? If you really have access to these teams, this hypothetical team where the AI can do all this stuff, how do you properly leverage it? And how do you enable your students to be able to take advantage of that? Give them access to it while ensuring that their education continues so that they can be a good partner to artificial intelligence. And that is where I will stop talking and hand it back to Lane for the continued discussion.
Thank you, David. Before I begin with my side of the session, where I'm going to show some of the tools that David is mentioning, I'm going to show them in a little bit more detail. I was just wondering if there's any questions from anybody. You can feel free to raise your hand. You can put your chat question into the chat box. Yeah, just want to open it up. As people are typing or thinking about their question, Kurt Kasdorf was asking about how AI could improve his class lecture, run his PowerPoint slide. Could he run his PowerPoint slides through an AI app and get suggestions or even entire presentations? Could he upload a textbook and ask it to create a quiz? David?
Uploading a textbook. The answer is yes, and depending on the tool that you're using, it can do it automatically. Like, for example, let's just say you have Vivox. Let's just say you're using Vivox. There is a question and answer creation tool there where you can tell it what you want questions to be made of, and it will go through and populate. If you happen to have the Copilot purchased, if you happen to have a personal Copilot purchased for your personal copy of Microsoft 365, it can do that. You can feed it text, you can tell it subject for individual slides, and it will formulate. In terms of critiquing, it can do technical analysis very well. ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek, it can all do this analysis fairly well. What it can't do is tell you how visually appealing it is to the user because it doesn't have an opinion on that, because it doesn't have an opinion. So is there a benefit to it? Yes. Can you even ask it to create a generic PowerPoint presentation based on information you give it? Yes. I've actually used ChatGPT for that very use case because why not? I gave it information that I wanted. I told it to synthesize a PowerPoint. For me, and the last time I did this was about a year ago, it was a 50-50. It'll probably be 70% successful, 30% not nowadays, but your mileage will vary. But yes, you can do those things.
And just to throw in there as well, I know Microsoft's PowerPoint will take your notes. So you put in your notes, your outline, it will create an entire PowerPoint with images and symbols and all the visuals, everything organized. It will do that for you already. There's also another tool called Designer. It's also by Microsoft. We also have it access through our OneDrive, our UWM login through our university accounts. Designer is Microsoft's kind of it's a visual tool that is AI driven. So you can give it descriptions of things and illustrations you would like, or kind of how you would like a slide to look, or a title screen, or images and text. It does those two combinations really well. So that's something to check out as too. Here I see, and then also with the questions, yes, especially like if you have an open textbook, you can just go into that page and if it's an open source textbook, the Gemini or Edge will read that text and give you questions based on that as well. So you don't even have to do anything. I see some questions in the chat though as well. Kurt, I see a follow-up question. Yes, how would you do that? Well, I would come to more active teaching labs. We talk about some of that material. Go to our active teaching lab archives, which I put a link just above the questions. There are some sessions in there that talk about that as well, or I'm happy to talk to you as well individually. So please, send me an email or schedule a consultation. Sarah Riffergetti asks, larger question, but a serious concern. Students know what they don't know. How can we reshape education to leverage AI and not have students take shortcuts, cheating themselves of important learning? I'll let you start that, David.
Oh, sure. Let me start. Let me start the answer to the existential question of the decade. I mean, I don't have a good answer for that um, because every discipline is going to be different. In some cases, we'll be able to walk into this in tandem because they're large language models. The services that are built around them have tutorial bots. Agents can be tweaked so that they don't answer questions, but so that they encourage dialogue. Just like with everything else, that keeps the honest people honest. But this doesn't, this provides just yet another vector where students can choose to cheat. Students could always look at books before. Students could always take other people's opinions. The benefit that ChatGPT and others have is that they don't have opinions. And so while they may not understand the context, they may not understand that a student is asking them to cheat. There are only so many things that they can use ChatGPT for before they're doing more work trying to get ChatGPT to do their work than it is they are just doing their work. So something as simple as being thoughtful on the assignment design can help, but how that looks for every discipline is going to be different because the answer for computer science is going to look very differently from the dialogue to be had in social work, journalism, or criminal justice. So that's a non-answer to to the question.
Steri, feel free to pipe, to start talking.
Sure. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole necessarily, but I don't know if it's so much I think students are cheating. I think they're using these as shortcuts, just like we might use them as shortcuts in our teaching to try to accomplish more with less time. I mean, 80% of our students work. At least 20% of our students are parents, like they have really complicated lives. So I understand why they would want to take shortcuts, but as an educator, it's really difficult for me, that tension of if they don't learn some of the fundamental things that they need to know, they're never going to be able to leverage the tools correctly. And so I didn't know if there were any strategies besides talking with students about why you would use AI in certain ways and not other ways, that the university is taking or that others are taking in order to make sure they get those fundamental skills.
Yeah, that's a huge question. David, do you want to keep going with that or?
I think part of the answer is going to be the evolution of our general education curriculum. The generative AI, I know that the generative AI literacy course is going to be a generative AI literacy course, at least one, is going to be part of the general education package. So that opens up introduction, but that's only a generalist kind of thing. It can only go so far. I would turn this around and go back and say, well, what does a shortcut look like in jams? What are the things that students are doing to avoid the work? In other words, and those become the scaffolding points that we build against. Um, Also, students having opinions, students engaging, students getting into the habit of working with artificial intelligence in a particular way is going to have a different impact to them than if they're relying on it to do um, some of the more finite, technical, detailed work. I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer because there are so many legs to it. Because we're talking not just about instructional change, but we're talking about changes in the way we offer the curriculum, and we're also talking about establishing social norms which haven't been done yet. So I feel like I should stop before I insert foot in mouth.
No, you, Jane. Please go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just did a complete course redo for one of the for 3 of my flexible option courses. And my big focus on them is, and the question was asked here about how AI gets used in professional settings. And that was one of the things that I really concentrated on in my redesign of how it would be used professionally. And I was lucky enough to work with course designers through Flex, but we came up with a really good explanation of what the acceptable use of AI was in the course. And I'd be happy to share that with people if they're actually interested in what we came up with and why we allowed people to use AI in the courses.
Jane, I'm really happy you brought that up because I'm going to share this link right here, and I would love for you to put that in there. Kind of piggybacking off Sarah's question as well of how do we help students, when they're AI can offer you shortcuts to getting to the answer quicker, and it can do that, in a way that helps student learns, and it can do it in a way that undermines learning. And there's no like black and white, there's no line, it's just a continuous of gray. And so really helping students navigate in that is so difficult, in part because it's so customized to what the student is asking. And 2, we're all learning this as well. And each department is different. Each class is different. And so I think sharing and talking about it with others is a really good first step in helping us as a university tackle this and understand it and create better guidance and policies as well. I think it really needs to come from the ground level. It can't be just top down. So I'd really encourage you then to take that link that I just put in there and share with us how you're using AI. What's your policy with AI? What does good AI practice look like in your course, in your department that you see? Do you have any policies or content you'd love to like to share? That link's in there, available for you now. I see people in there. And then if you have any questions or challenges, please put those in there as well. And we as a community can answer them, or I can as well. But just, I think just sharing these documentations and sharing this content to kind of collaborate it in that way is going to be super helpful. There's a lot of other questions. Oh, thanks, Jane. I'd love a presentation. That'd be awesome. I'll talk to you later about that. There's some other great questions in here that I would love to get to, but we only have 15 more minutes. And I wanted to show a couple things to talk about in terms of how AI is coming and is changing even as just in this month. So, David today was talking about, hey, AI is changing. How we are going to interact with AI is changing. It's not just about going to ChatGPT, going to Claude, going to Copilot, going to Gemini, and then typing a question. AI is coming to us in our browsers, in our hardware, in our laptops, in everything. It's coming to us, and how we engage with it is totally going to change. So I wanted to share a little bit about that today. And thank you for those of you who are in the document. Please feel free to enter stuff. This document's going to be open. Feel free to enter any time as you'd like. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second here. Shared sound, optimize. Yep, everything's set. Good. All right. So right now, what you're seeing right here is good. You can see my screen, and the right here we have I'm using Google Chrome in iOS, so on an Apple computer. So this is just kind of and Google, I just said, hey, give me a sample algebra equation. And just recently, so Google has, in May, they integrated Gemini into Chrome. And then in September 2nd, so just last week, a week ago yesterday, on Tuesday, they integrated 2 new tools into Google Chrome. They integrated Google Lens. We'll talk about that in a moment. And also homework help. We'll talk about both of those. And Gemini. So I have just a quick Google Doc, a Google question. Give me a sample algebra equation. There's some algebra equations right there. So I'm going to go, you can see my mouse. I'm going to go right up to the top right, click the ellipsis, and we have a little document open. I'm going to go to, let's say, open Gemini in Chrome. It's going to open up a little chat bar, and I'll say, please solve the equation. Let's see what it does. It's different every time. And this is using Gemini in Chrome. And now it found the equation, one of them. I don't know where the three, oh, there's this one right here, 3x plus 5, and it gives me the steps on how to solve it. Okay, that's cool. Let's say, you know what, I really wanted it to solve this equation right here, not this equation down here. So I'm going to close Gemini in Chrome. So I'm going to close Gemini. I'm going to click on that ellipsis again, and I'm going to go to search with Google Lens, right? And it's going to say, okay, well, where are you wanting to search? So you see my little mouse now has a plus sign with a little Google Lens symbol. I'm going to click on this top right corner. I'm going to select that. And there's the equation. And there's all the steps on how to solve that equation right there. So again, David was saying, we aren't going to be integrating with AI just via text. I won't have to go in and type 16 minus 2t equals 5t. I don't have to use LaTeX and do the equations. All I have to do is select an equation. I select any part of the screen, and it will give me information about that. So I can do, yesterday was the 100th anniversary of the Scopes monkey trial. So I'll look up Charles Darwin. I'm going to click on the ellipsis again and open Gemini and Chrome, search with Google Lens. And there I'll just select a picture of Charles Darwin. And then it gives me a nice little biography of Charles Darwin. So anything that I have on the screen, Google can search, contextualize, and if necessary, answer. So that's Gemini in Chrome, and then also Google Lens. So Gemini will look at the entire screen in Chrome that you have open. Google Lens will focus in on certain sections of what you have open on the screen. This is being portrayed or advertised as kind of an assistant, which it absolutely is. And then it also, Google or Alphabet has given every one of our students everywhere access to the full features of Gemini for free for this academic year. So they have Notebook LM, they have everything that Gemini can do. They have access to the best version of Gemini. And there's another tool that Google has popped out, that was just last week, and it's called Homework Help. So let me go into, this is a course that I taught on British history. And you'll notice, so here I'm in Google and look at my URL bar, just the URL bar with the star at the end, so I can bookmark that page if I wanted. Or now I'm in Canvas and you see Homework Help. So Google knows that I'm in Canvas, which is a learning management system, which means I'm probably doing something with school. This same button will appear if the students are using Canvas, they're using D2L, they're using Blackboard, any learning management system. It will automatically pop up because the student's supposedly doing homework. And I can click on that. And now it's opening. Oh, we can see this is opening up Lens. So I can say, hey, you know what? I need some help with the Northern Ireland conflict. So I click on that. And here we go. So it's giving me all basically the answer to the discussion question I asked. Now, I do know that when I ask it a very contextual question, so this is about chapter 9 in Morgan's The People's Piece. It's a textbook on British history. It struggles a bit when I ask it about a book because it doesn't have this particular book uploaded. Though I do know Google has another version of this uploaded in Google Books, but it's not getting full context of this. So it won't answer the Morgan aspect of it. So it'll say, okay, you got to look up the text, but it'll basically answer the coal mining strikes, which were seminal in 1970-71. They'll answer the basic question that'll leave the student up to the student to look at Morgan's analysis. Let's look at another example. Here we have an in-lab quiz this is version of Active Teaching Lab. And I can do the same thing here. I can click Google Help or Homework Help, or I can just go click on the ellipsis once more, click on Search with Google Lens. Let's say I'm being really lazy here and I just want to get more questions than one. And it will search. There we go. Gives me the answer. Commercial trade in the Indian Ocean was, answer, well established long before Europeans arrived. The imperial nations that were amongst the first to regularly utilize a number of fortified posts to secure global trade was Portugal and the Netherlands. It will answer all the questions that you could possibly imagine right there in the course. So in Canvas quizzes or any quiz that you have, students don't even have to go look up the answer. Go to Wikipedia to find the answer. Wikipedia AI will bring it right to them. If you're still here, I'll show you one more example, and I'll share this video later. But let's say you're using Respondus. And give me a second. Nope, I loaded the wrong video. I had everything ready except for the thing I needed. And give me 1 second to find that video. Oh, for crying out loud. Get my, oh, there it is. So, okay. Sharing and press play. And here we go. This is me working again, just showing you all this stuff. Okay, so you have Respondus. So this is me basically using Google Lens in Chrome iOS. So using my iPhone with a Canvas quiz on my laptop. I'll take a picture of the quiz from my phone and then it will answer the questions. So here we go. And that's me. This is for context. On the bottom right, that's the quiz. The left is the phone. That's the phone I have open, and my eyes are what I'm doing as we're going. So, you know, two things are going to be happening at once, but just so you can see. You can see I just copied, I just took a picture of the screen. That's what's on the right. And there's the answer. And then I can go in on the screen. And even if I'm in a lockdown browser, I can get the answers and then just go right there. It might be a little difficult to see, but the answers were there, Kurt. So that's to let you see what's happening in the technology. This is probably a little alarmist, but the goal of this is just to see what's available and to really circle back to this document that I was sharing as well, that it's really essential that we talk with our students about, you know, the tools, the technology that's available and the ethical way of using it and what it means in our classroom. Because they know about this content, they know about these tools, they can do all of these things, but I think really what was that? Is that a question? Okay. These tools are available, and just to be aware of them and what's possible in AI. That this is what it means when AI isn't just in a browser or on an AI platform like ChatGPT, but now AI is built into everything, into our browser, into our computers, into our phones. Someone asked if the students know about these tools yet. Yes, they do. Not all of them do, but there's a baseline that will. And I have to assume that, I would, if I was an instructor, assume that they do know about these, because they certainly know about the updates that are coming out.
Depending on the numbers you look at, the answer is between 45 and 60%.
Yep. So I wish I knew about Homework Assist earlier when designing my class this semester. Yes, I wish I would have known about it too. It just came out September 2nd. Yes, to confirm the students can use this during lockdown. Yes, Jason, yes, they can. Because your phone, all you have to do is you just snap a picture. And I was trying to show that in the video that you can't tell if my eyes are looking at a piece of paper or if my screen's off to the side. You don't know exactly what I'm looking at. And I can just take a picture with my phone right underneath the screen, take a picture of keep my phone below the screen, take a picture, and then Google Lens will automatically give me the answer for that. And then I can just find it right there. Yeah. So that's where AI is today. I loved all the questions that were coming in. I will do my best to answer those in the next week or so, and we'll send out a lab report. I'll have a lot more information. I'll send out everything I can find on Google Lens. Google Homework or Homework Assist there's like no documentation. There's just a little basic promotional stuff that Google has. There hasn't really been any documentation on this yet.